The charges against FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried, alleging he violated campaign finance rules, was dropped by Bahamian authorities, which said it was not listed on the warrant against him when he was extradited to the United States in December. So just to note, this is just one of the charges that was initially filed against him, not all of the charges, but Associated Press reported on this. So let's get into some of these facts. Prosecutors told US District Judge Louis A. Kaplan in a letter that the government in the Bahamas notified it on Wednesday that authorities there did not consider the charge to be included in Bankman-Fried's extradition. Thus, prosecutors wrote they would not pursue it at the trial, in keeping with US treaty obligations to the Bahamas. In early May, Bankman-Fried's lawyers sought dismissal of a charge of conspiracy to defraud the United States and violate campaign finance laws, the 8th count in the original indictment against him, saying it was not included in a warrant of surrender that described the other 7 charges he would face in the United States. Now, according to the AP, the charge pertained to the government's claim that Bankman-Fried enabled over 100 million, yes, $100 million siphoned from Alameda Research to fund over 300 political contributions that were considered unlawful because they were made in the name of straw donors or came from corporate funds. Now let's get into, it's been dropped, but let's get into some more info on this charge as it was and more of the reasons why it's been dropped. In an indictment, prosecutors said Bankman-Fried made the contributions to improve his personal standing in Washington, D.C., to increase FTX's profile, and to curry favor with candidates who might help pass legislation favorable to FTX, including legislation concerning regulatory oversight over FTX and its industry. The indictment said Bankman-Fried became one of the largest publicly reported political donors to the 2022 midterm election, as he caused substantial contributions to be made in support of candidates, Democrats and Republicans, and across the political spectrum. Now, while the charges dropped, Michael Zwieback, who's an LA criminal defense attorney and former federal prosecutor, said that this won't stop them from introducing the facts pertaining to it at trial. Now, from his statement, that evidence is not excluded just because the charges have been dismissed. The evidence of the systematic campaign donations are all part and parcel of describing the nature of the fraudulent scheme, and therefore would be admissible. Associated Press continued that Zwieback said campaign finance evidence will likely be used to show the jury how Bankman-Fried planned to continue his grip on the industry. Zwieback added that they'll want to show jurors that his plans included soliciting favors and influence with politicians. Now, the removal of this charge is a victory for Bankman-Fried's legal team, which had argued that the United States mishandled the extradition process. Now, it follows the prosecution's decision in June to proceed to a trial in October without pursuing 5 other charges that were added to Bankman-Fried's indictment in the weeks after his extradition. But I think it's important here to note that prosecutors are planning a second trial for those 5 charges, and just some more info on that from the New York Times. In total, Bankman-Fried is now set to face 7 charges at his trial in October, including accusations that he defrauded customers and lenders of FTX. Prosecutors have argued that he orchestrated a sweeping fraud, siphoning billions of dollars that customers had deposited with FTX to finance campaign contributions, charitable donations, and real estate purchases. Now, as we wait for the October trial, the prosecution is concerned about Bankman-Fried being out on bail. A judge is weighing whether to revoke his bail after prosecutors said Wednesday that FTX founder used the news media to harass a key witness against him and that he should be locked up until the trial. So a little more on that. The 31-year-old, who was seen as a crypto whiz before the exchange collapsed last year, has been free on a $250 million bond since his December extradition from the Bahamas. He's required to remain at his parents' home in Palo Alto, California, and his electronic communications have been severely limited. Now, prosecutors argued that his extensive contact with the news media demonstrates an effort on his part to affect the jury pool. Now, his lawyers deny this, and the judge has imposed a gag rule while he decides the issue. Now, I have some more about him being on house arrest, essentially at his parents' house, and a larger effort of white collar criminals to have this luxury afforded to them. But first I want to say, Cenk, reading what these articles had to say about his attempting to get influence with politicians and influence regulatory decisions over crypto. I mean, I'm reading it and I'm laughing to myself a little bit because that's what all campaign contributions are from corporate donors, are they not? Just attempting to influence the way that their industry will be regulated in terms more favorable to them.
Ding, 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 we have a winner. Yes, look, all the things that Ravana told you were facts. I'm going to speculate a little bit like she is at the end there about why they dropped these charges. Now, ostensibly they say, oh, when we extradited them from the Bahamas, we didn't have that, and the government of the Bahamas is angry that we added these extra charges. Are they? Are they? Here's my alternate theory. Sam Bankman-Fried gave a lot of money to politicians, and he was embarrassingly honest about it in a series of interviews after FTX started having trouble. And he would say things like, yeah, I was trying to curry favor with candidates. I would give to Republicans secretly because the media doesn't like it when you give to Republicans, but I wanted to make sure they were on our side and they wouldn't regulate us. And I gave to Democrats because it made me look like a good person, but in reality, I wanted to influence them so that they wouldn't regulate us. So now, it's one thing if you say it about Republicans, but if you say it about the Democratic establishment candidates, we're gonna have some trouble there. That is, we do not, the people in Washington do not want that publicized. They don't want to publicize for Republicans or Democrats, right? But prosecutors during a Democratic administration dropped the one charge that would humiliate a ton of Democrats. So one of our members wrote in, Vicky, saying that creep banked Nina's opponent. Grr. Oh, there you go, exactly. So Sam Bankman-Fried gave a ton of money to Chantel Brown. She was down 35 points against Nina Turner. He and other lobbies put in about $4 million to defeat the progressive champion Nina Turner because she would have regulated, because she's an honest person. And they didn't want that, they wanted a crook. Chantel Brown raised her hand and said, I'll take your money. And she used that money to take down that lead and win. And after she won, she did everything she promised, which is she left everyone alone. She didn't regulate, she didn't do anything. Democratic Majority for Israel also chipped in. She said, I swear, I will do whatever Israel wants. In essence, that's paraphrasing, but you can see the quote. The quote itself says almost exactly that. And so those lobbyists, including Sam Bankman-Fried, got exactly what they wanted. And do prosecutors, while there's a Democratic administration, want to have a trial, a very public trial? Everybody's paying attention to this guy, talking about what crooks most politicians are, including some of their beloved establishment Democrats? No, they do not want that. Did they make a political decision? Well, I call it speculation because we don't have any internal evidence of that, and we can't say for sure that that's why they did it. Maybe they really were worried about the Bahamas, but understand that that definitely could be one of the reasons that they conveniently dropped that devastating charge that would have implicated not him, but all those politicians.
I think that Sam Bankman-Fried is a beautiful case study on the power of greed and how it just makes people turn their head the other direction and act like they don't see what's right in front of them. You pointed out lobbyists and corporate donations basically are efforts for politicians in the system to turn their head and act like they don't see. And one of the biggest problems with crypto is it's really not needed. We already have centralized currency, government currency that people know is backed. And the whole push for it to not be further regulated is because what did you see in crypto even before the FTX? Rug pull after rug pull after rug pull. That's all that happened. The amount of financial crime and fraud that went down within the crypto market really is something that I've never seen within my 31 years of life. I'm still waiting for Binance to go down with CZ because it's the same deal. They don't show their records for how much money they actually have in liquidation, and then whenever auditors actually come to look, they're like, look the other way, don't come here. But Sam Bankman-Fried, a full year before he got taken down, did an interview. I can't remember who exactly it was with, but he did an interview with a banker where he basically described FTX as just a Ponzi scheme. He literally said, think about FTX as a black box, and you can put money into the box and more money comes out of it. And they were like, so you're running a Ponzi scheme. Infinite money. He said this a full year before he went down. What's the name? Kevin O'Leary still, for some reason, is giving public opinions on things. All of these people who were supposed to be the genius businessmen, the people who know everything, somehow fell for a guy named Sam Bankman-Fried. And at the end of the day, it was just plain in everybody's face. And for all the crypto burros out there, crypto is still dead. It's still dead. Y'all said it was coming back. It ain't came back yet. But Sam Bankman-Fried, he's one of the main people who ruined it, and he's going to continue to be the face of crypto's failure.
And just to that point that both you, Cenk, and Jackson were making about the things that he was saying publicly, I can't wrap my head around why his attorneys are fighting to have this gag order lifted. If I was his attorney, I'd be thinking this is the best thing that could have possibly happened. My client is legally obligated to shut the hell up. My client, who has implicated himself in criminal activity time and time again.
Hey everyone, as you all know, coronavirus has been pretty devastating for people's personal finances. The inaction in Congress, or the very little relief that was provided by Congress, unfortunately didn't do much to help small businesses that were really, really hurt by being forced to shut down in order to slow the spread of coronavirus. There are 100,000 small businesses that have been closed since the pandemic began. Some of you might feel helpless, but luckily there's this wonderful initiative known as the COVID Rescue Fund. So all you need to do is go to covidrescuefund.org and you'll learn more about how you can donate or how you can vote and promote your favorite small business. And really the whole point here is to offer generous grants to help these small businesses. The COVID Rescue Fund crowdsources up to $100,000 for each individual grant. So we're not talking about a small amount of money. You know, I've seen small businesses in my community shut down, and these are small businesses where I had relationships with the owners, and to watch them lose everything that they've worked so hard for has been absolutely heartbreaking. I really wanted to do something then, and I'm happy to see that there's an initiative that could help people get involved now. Go to covidrescuefund.org and donate. Let's come together and bring back as many small businesses as possible.